5 times and counting. Olivia Bennett's sharp tone echoed through the sleek, glass-walled office as Ryan Carter, the single dad, nodded silently, his expression calm and unreadable, the creases on his worn brown jacket hinting at years of hard work. He had just received his 5th loan denial, the stack of letters sitting neatly on the mahogany desk, each one stamped with the corporate seal of Langford Holdings. And yet he did not argue, did not raise his voice, simply collected the papers and tucked them under his arm with quiet dignity, knowing the right moment for action would come. The office overlooked the bustling city streets below, where cars and pedestrians moved like clockwork, indifferent to the tension inside the towering building, and Olivia adjusted her tailored navy suit as she surveyed the man she believed incapable of managing large sums. Her heels clicking against the polished floor with precise confidence, Ryan walked toward the elevator, Lily holding his hand, her small fingers gripping his with trust and innocence, oblivious to the judgmental glance of the CEO, her wide eyes reflecting the soft morning light that streamed through the panoramic windows, bathing the space in a glow that softened the harshness of the corporate world. He did not speak, only offered a gentle nod to his daughter as they stepped out into the cool autumn air, the city noises filling the space around them, a subtle reminder that the world outside would continue moving. Unaware of the quiet struggle and resilience within a modest garage tucked on a side street just a few miles away, Ryan's footsteps were steady as he entered the garage, the familiar scent of motor oil and worn leather greeting him like an old friend, the tools and workbenches arranged with meticulous care, each object telling the story of a man who built his life with patience, skill, and unrecognized ingenuity. He set down the stack of rejection letters on a wooden table, glanced at the partially restored classic car in the corner, and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the day lift slightly as he turned his attention to the machines that never judged him, that responded predictably to effort and care, each engine and chassis a testament to his competence and steadfast dedication. Outside, the morning sun reflected off the pavement, illuminating the faded blue of the garage sign that read Carter's Garage, a humble facade masking the intelligence, creativity, and persistence within. And Ryan smiled faintly, knowing that despite the repeated denials from Olivia Bennett and her corporate peers, the work he did here, silent, steady, and meticulous, would eventually speak louder than any corporate decision. Lily wandered to a shelf, picking up a small wrench, and looked up at her father, her eyes curious, and he bent down to explain how even the smallest adjustments could make a big difference. The lesson extending beyond mechanics to life itself. Back in the office, Olivia turned toward the window, unaware that her company's future would soon depend on the quiet, steadfast skills of the man she had just dismissed, and the first seeds of a remarkable story of redemption, respect, and unexpected partnership were already taking root, setting the stage for the garage to become the unlikely savior of her entire operation. The next morning arrived with a pale golden sunrise stretching across the rooftops of the small industrial district where Carter's Garage stood. The familiar rumble of engines soon filled the air as Ryan Carter rolled up the large metal door and welcomed another day of work. Inside, every wrench, diagnostic scanner, and tool cabinet sat exactly where it belonged. Order mattered to him. Precision mattered. The garage was not large, but it carried a quiet reputation throughout the county. Customers trusted Ryan because he never exaggerated problems, never cut corners, and never charged for repairs that were not needed. Lily sat at a wooden desk near the office window, finishing homework before school. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with motor oil and the faint scent of sawdust from a workbench in the corner. It was a simple life. Not easy, but honest. Ryan moved between vehicles with calm efficiency, diagnosing an electrical issue on a delivery van before helping a local contractor whose work truck needed immediate attention. Every customer received the same respect regardless of their income or background. Around noon, a delivery driver arrived carrying a stack of industrial parts. "Morning, Ryan," he called. "Busy as always." Ryan smiled. That is usually a good sign. The driver glanced around the garage. "You ever think about opening a second location?" Ryan chuckled softly. "One garage keeps me busy enough." The answer sounded modest, but hidden beneath the surface was something few people understood. Ryan tracked every repair, Every inventory order, every customer pattern, and every operational cost using systems he had built himself over years of observation and experimentation. While others saw an ordinary mechanic, they missed the strategist quietly operating behind the scenes. Across town, Olivia Bennett sat inside a boardroom surrounded by financial reports. Large screens displayed declining projections. Several executives shifted nervously in their seats. "Our maintenance contracts are falling behind schedule," one manager explained. Another added, "Fleet downtime is increasing. Several logistics partners are threatening penalties." Olivia folded her hands together. "How much exposure are we looking at?" The room became uncomfortably quiet. The answer was larger than anyone wanted to admit. Back at the garage, Ryan reviewed inventory reports while waiting for a transmission test to finish. His eyes moved quickly across numbers displayed on a tablet. Efficiency gaps, supply chain delays, service bottlenecks. Problems most people ignored immediately stood out to him. Lily looked up from her homework. "Dad, yes. Why do you always study those reports?" Ryan smiled. "Because every problem tells a story. And then you learn how to fix it." Lily nodded thoughtfully. Outside, afternoon sunlight reflected across the faded blue sign above the garage entrance. Customers continued arriving. Phones continued ringing. Engines continued turning. It looked like an ordinary business from the outside. Yet beneath the grease-stained floors and weathered walls operated a system built on discipline, intelligence, and relentless attention to detail. Several miles away, Olivia stared out her office window at the city skyline, unaware that the solution to many of her company's growing problems was quietly working beneath a modest garage roof, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the moment when circumstances would force their paths together once again. Olivia Bennett sat in the high-rise boardroom, sunlight reflecting off the glass walls as spreadsheets and financial charts covered her desk, the numbers telling a story of projects stalling and urgent cash flow shortages, executives shifting uneasily in their seats. She ran her fingers through her hair, contemplating the implications, knowing that several high-profile contracts were at risk and that any delay could have lasting consequences for Langford Holdings. Each department had offered solutions, but all were temporary patches, not sustainable fixes, and Olivia's mind wandered briefly to the repeated loan denials she had given to Ryan Carter, unaware that his quiet garage a few miles away might hold the key to her company's immediate survival. Meanwhile, back at Carter's garage, Ryan monitored service schedules, inventory, and pending repair requests, his tablet displaying not only mechanical diagnostics, but also a model he had created showing how his garage could provide auxiliary support to local businesses, including logistics and vehicle maintenance, that coincidentally intersected with the needs of Olivia's company. Though he kept his plan private, working silently and efficiently, Lily watched her father with fascination, noticing how he could solve complex problems while managing multiple repairs and appointments, a balance of patience, skill, and insight that impressed her more than any grand gesture or public recognition. Instilling lessons of responsibility and persistence, Ryan moved between the bays, checking tire pressures, calibrating engines, and adjusting hydraulic lifts, all while glancing at his notes about company fleet requirements. Predicting downtime and maintenance windows in advance, showing a depth of operational understanding that would seem extraordinary if anyone were aware of it. Across the city, Olivia scheduled urgent calls with suppliers, trying to negotiate better terms, reduce delays, and secure temporary solutions to maintain workflow. But every strategy felt fragile and dependent on factors beyond her control. The pressure mounting as the day wore on. As the afternoon progressed, a realization slowly formed. In Olivia's mind, though she did not yet understand the extent, the small, unassuming garage she had dismissed might provide the precise support needed to bridge critical gaps in her operation. Meanwhile, Ryan continued executing his plan, quietly allocating resources, preparing tools, and lining up service appointments that would align perfectly with the temporary demands of Langford Holdings, all without any announcement, relying solely on efficiency, foresight, and integrity. Lily brought him a notebook with scribbled calculations she had made while observing her father, and he smiled, making minor adjustments, explaining the importance of accuracy and careful planning. Reinforcing the lessons of diligence and foresight in a practical, hands-on manner, the sun began to lower, casting long shadows through the garage windows. And while the outside world remained oblivious, Ryan's quiet work and unwavering focus laid the groundwork for a turning point, preparing for the moment when his garage, his skills, and his foresight would intersect with Olivia's corporate challenges, setting the stage for a revelation that would shift perceptions, create respect, and introduce the first ripple of redemption and opportunity for both parties. Ryan Carter moved through the garage with quiet precision, organizing tools and prepping vehicles, while keeping a watchful eye on the incoming requests that would align perfectly with the immediate needs of Olivia Bennett's company. Though she remained unaware of his meticulous planning and silent intervention, the afternoon sun poured through high windows, casting warm beams over oil-stained floors and polished metal, creating a cinematic glow that highlighted the orderly chaos of a busy workshop filled with mechanical ingenuity and disciplined labor. Lily followed her father from station to station, asking questions about the vehicles and the parts they were checking, and Ryan explained each adjustment with patient clarity, using every example to teach her the importance of foresight, attention to detail, and strategic problem-solving that would one day shape her understanding of work ethic and responsibility. Across the city, Olivia sat in her corner office surrounded by spreadsheets and urgent emails, her forehead furrowed as she tried to identify short-term solutions to prevent project delays, unaware that her company's lifeline was quietly unfolding in a small garage miles away, where every movement of Ryan's hands and every decision he made was preparing the company to continue operation seamlessly. The contrast between the polished glass skyscraper with its sterile, fluorescent-lit offices and the garage filled with the hum of engines, the smell of motor oil, and scattered tools could not have been starker. Yet each environment mirrored the focus and dedication of its inhabitant, one overt and authoritative, the other subtle and persistent. Ryan coordinated the garage crew, scheduling repairs, aligning vehicles for quick deployment, and ensuring that each task completed would indirectly support Olivia's looming deadlines, demonstrating a mastery of operational logistics invisible to the outside world. Lily's curiosity led her to notice small differences in how her father adjusted machines and equipment, and she asked why certain procedures mattered, to which Ryan responded with a quiet lesson on efficiency and foresight, showing that careful preparation can prevent larger problems, a principle equally applicable to both mechanics and corporate management. Sunlight shifted across the garage floor, highlighting the rows of vehicles and parts awaiting attention, the shadows drawing long lines that mirrored the hidden connections between Ryan's silent efforts and the survival of Olivia's business, a connection she could not yet perceive. As the day progressed, Ryan completed a series of critical adjustments, double-checking calibrations and confirming inventory that would support the company's urgent fleet requirements, every action deliberate, strategic, and filled with unseen impact, his quiet diligence setting in motion a series of events that would soon force a meeting of worlds and the recognition of value where it had previously been dismissed. Olivia checked her emails again, still unaware of the invisible support arriving from the garage, while Ryan glanced at a tablet showing her company's operational gaps being covered one by one, and he allowed himself a faint, satisfied nod, knowing that the coming revelation would shift perception, build respect, and lay the foundation for the critical turning point where his quiet labor would save the day and change the trajectory of the CEO's understanding. 3 weeks passed, and for the first time in months, the operational reports inside Langford Holdings began showing signs of improvement. Delayed service schedules were suddenly stabilizing. Vehicle downtime had dropped dramatically. Logistics partners who had threatened penalties were extending deadlines and renewing confidence. Inside the executive conference room, managers exchanged puzzled glances as updated numbers appeared on the large screen. "How is this possible?" one director asked. "We were projecting losses in every region." Another executive adjusted his glasses and pointed toward a column of data. The maintenance response times improved by 40%. Olivia Bennett sat quietly at the head of the table, studying the reports. Something did not make sense. The improvements were happening too quickly. Every major problem seemed to be resolving itself through a network of service providers she barely recognized. Yet somehow, Every solution was precise. Every adjustment arrived exactly when needed. Across town, Ryan Carter continued his routine as though nothing unusual was happening. The garage doors rolled open before sunrise. Customers arrived. Engines hummed. Lily worked on homework at her desk, while occasionally helping organize invoices. The faded blue sign outside remained unchanged. To passing drivers, Carter's garage looked exactly as it always had. Yet behind the scenes, Ryan had quietly built an operational support system that now touched dozens of fleets connected to Olivia's company. Through relationships developed over years, he coordinated repairs, sourced replacement parts, shared maintenance forecasts, and solved bottlenecks before they became emergencies. He never advertised it. He never claimed credit. He simply fixed problems. One afternoon, Olivia reviewed a detailed operations report prepared by her analysts. The document identified the strongest performing maintenance network supporting her company's recovery. She scanned the first page casually. Then she stopped. Her eyes narrowed. A familiar name appeared repeatedly throughout the report. Carter's Garage. The name surfaced again and again. Fleet optimization, emergency maintenance coordination, regional support planning, supplier efficiency improvements. Olivia sat back slowly. That cannot be right, she whispered. She opened another report. The same name appeared. Then another. Again and again. Across multiple regions, the improvements traced back to a single source. Meanwhile, Ryan stood beneath a raised delivery truck adjusting a transmission housing while explaining mechanical principles to Lily. Sunlight streamed through the garage windows, illuminating dust particles floating through the air like tiny sparks of gold. The scene was simple, ordinary, peaceful. Yet at that exact moment, executives in glass towers were analyzing strategies that had quietly originated from this modest building. A customer approached Ryan holding a clipboard. "You know," the man said, "people keep asking how this garage handles so much work." Ryan smiled faintly. "One problem at a time." The customer laughed. "There has to be more to it than that." Ryan tightened the final bolt and lowered the truck. "Most solutions are simpler than people think." Back in her office, Olivia stared out the window at the city skyline. The afternoon sun reflected across neighboring skyscrapers. For the first time since denying Ryan's loan applications, she found herself thinking about him differently. Not as an applicant, not as a struggling mechanic, but as someone she clearly did not understand. The reports on her desk told a story she had completely missed. Somewhere between the rejection letters and the mounting corporate crisis, the man she had dismissed had quietly become one of the most important reasons her company was still standing. And although she did not yet know the full truth, Olivia could feel the first cracks forming in the assumptions she had carried for far too long. Olivia Bennett finally arrived at Carter's garage just as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the asphalt and the faded blue sign above the entrance. The first hints of recognition and curiosity in her eyes as she approached the modest building. Ryan Carter stood beneath the raised hood of a delivery van, adjusting components with methodical precision while Lily watched nearby, notebook in hand, observing the careful attention her father gave to each movement, his hands steady and deliberate, reflecting years of experience and quiet authority. The air smelled faintly of motor oil, warm asphalt, and sunlight filtering through the open garage doors, creating a calm yet anticipatory atmosphere as Olivia stepped inside, her heels clicking softly on the concrete floor. Contrasting with the rhythmic clank of wrenches and machinery, Ryan looked up, noting her presence but not breaking his focus, and she cleared her throat, hesitating for a moment before speaking. "Mr. Carter, I need to understand how all of this happened." And the tone in her voice carried a mix of genuine concern, disbelief, and respect, the realization that the quiet, unassuming man she had dismissed had become the very foundation supporting her struggling operation. He smiled faintly, closing the hood, and gestured toward the workbenches and rows of vehicles, explaining in clear, calm language how each repair, adjustment, and coordinated schedule had directly contributed to the stabilization of her fleet and the revival of the company, showing no pride but a natural authority that demanded respect. Olivia moved closer, absorbing every detail, watching him interact with Lily, offering gentle guidance and answering her questions patiently, noting the quiet patience, intelligence, and humility that defined Ryan. and feeling the weight of her earlier judgments and the arrogance of her denials begin to dissolve. She observed the garage in its entirety, the worn floors, the neatly organized tools, the precise flow of work, the subtle system Ryan had orchestrated to optimize outcomes. Realizing that the scale of his contribution was far beyond what she had imagined, and that his dedication had transformed the course of her business without fanfare, without request, and without expectation of recognition, Lily looked up and smiled, pointing to a repaired engine, and Ryan explained the process simply, his voice calm and measured, demonstrating that the value of work and expertise was communicated through action rather than words, leaving Olivia increasingly aware of the depth of his character and the enormity of her prior misjudgment. Sunlight shifted, illuminating every detail in the garage, and for the first time, Olivia experienced a mix of awe, gratitude, and humility as she absorbed the full scope of the hidden support Ryan had provided, recognizing the man before her not just as a mechanic, but as a strategic thinker, a problem solver, and a person of integrity whose quiet actions had rescued her company and reshaped her understanding of value, trust, and human potential. As the conversation continued, the garage itself seemed to breathe with purpose, every vehicle, tool, and workbench reflecting Ryan's dedication, and Olivia felt an undeniable shift in perspective, acknowledging silently that respect, recognition, and future collaboration would be the only appropriate response to the man whose diligence, foresight, and moral fortitude had quietly preserved her entire operation. The following week brought a quiet but unmistakable change to the atmosphere surrounding Carter's garage, though Ryan Carter behaved as if nothing had happened, arriving before sunrise, unlocking the doors, and beginning his work with the same calm discipline that had defined every day for years. The difference existed not in Ryan, but in the people around him, because word of his contribution had slowly spread through Langford Holdings, and managers who once overlooked the small garage now spoke of it with admiration and respect, recognizing that many of the solutions keeping their operations running had originated from a man they had never bothered to notice. Inside the garage, Lily organized paperwork while Ryan reviewed maintenance schedules, occasionally pausing to explain a repair process or a business principle, treating every lesson with the same patience and care he brought to his work, reinforcing the values that shaped both his garage and his life. Meanwhile, in her downtown office, Olivia Bennett found herself reflecting on every interaction she had previously had with Ryan, remembering the rejection letters, the brief meetings, and the assumptions she had made based on appearances rather than ability. And for the first time in years, she questioned whether success had caused her to overlook qualities that could not be measured on financial statements. Several executives entered her office carrying updated reports, and their expressions revealed a mixture of relief and curiosity as they discussed the continuing improvements across multiple departments. Improvements that remained directly connected to systems and recommendations originating from Ryan's network. He solved problems we did not even know we had, one executive admitted, while another nodded in agreement, pointing out that Ryan's approach focused not on temporary fixes but on preventing issues before they developed, a philosophy that was quietly transforming their operational culture. Olivia listened carefully, realizing that the most remarkable aspect was not Ryan's intelligence or technical expertise, but the fact that he had chosen to help despite having every reason to walk away after being rejected repeatedly, a level of grace and professionalism she found both humbling and inspiring. Back at the garage, a local business owner stopped by to thank Ryan for helping coordinate repairs that had saved weeks of downtime. And Ryan simply smiled and returned to work, accepting the gratitude without seeking recognition, while Lily watched proudly, beginning to understand that real strength often appeared in the form of quiet consistency rather than dramatic displays. As afternoon sunlight streamed through the garage windows, illuminating rows of tools and polished equipment, Olivia's vehicle pulled into the parking lot once again. But this time there was no urgency, no crisis, and no confusion driving her visit. Instead, she stepped out carrying a sense of purpose, determined to build a relationship based on trust and respect rather than assumptions. And when Ryan looked up from his work, he noticed something different in her expression, not authority, not confidence, but sincerity. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. And in that silence existed the recognition that some of the most important changes happen quietly, through humility, understanding, and the willingness to see another person clearly for the very first time. Olivia Bennet stood quietly near the entrance of Carter's garage as the late afternoon sunlight poured through the open bay doors, casting long golden beams across the concrete floor and illuminating countless signs of honest work, from carefully organized tools to vehicles waiting patiently for service. For a moment, she simply observed, watching Ryan Carter explain a repair process to Lily with the same patience and clarity he brought to every challenge, and the scene struck her more deeply than any boardroom presentation ever had because everything she saw reflected consistency, discipline, and integrity rather than status or appearance. Ryan noticed her standing there and offered a polite smile before wiping his hands on a clean shop towel and walking toward her, his expression calm and welcoming despite everything that had happened between them. Olivia took a slow breath and looked directly at him, no longer carrying the confident certainty that had once defined every decision she made. And for the first time she spoke without the shield of her title or position, saying, "I owe you an apology," her voice steady but sincere, and the sounds of the garage seemed to soften around them as if even the busy workstations recognized the importance of the moment. Ryan remained silent, giving her space to continue, while Lily quietly moved to a nearby workbench. Sensing that this conversation mattered, Olivia lowered her eyes briefly before continuing, admitting that she had judged him incorrectly, that she had focused on financial reports, appearances, and assumptions instead of character, experience, and potential. And as the words left her mouth, she felt years of pride giving way to something far more valuable, humility. Ryan listened without interruption, his posture relaxed, never seeking validation, never displaying resentment. And when she finally finished, he simply nodded. "Everyone misses things sometimes," he said calmly. "The important part is what happens after." The simplicity of his response surprised her more than any criticism could have. There was no bitterness, no attempt to make her feel small, only quiet grace. Olivia glanced around the garage again and noticed details she had overlooked before: the efficient workflow, the trust among employees, the respect customers showed Ryan, and the countless systems operating smoothly beneath the surface, all built without recognition from the world she occupied. She realized that while she had been managing large departments and financial strategies, Ryan had been creating something equally valuable through patience, service, and long-term thinking. The two spent the next hour walking through the facility together, discussing operations, logistics, maintenance networks, and future opportunities. And with every conversation, Olivia discovered another layer of intelligence hidden beneath Ryan's modest exterior. Meanwhile, Lily followed along proudly, occasionally adding her own observations, causing both adults to smile. As the sun slowly descended toward the horizon, painting the garage windows in shades of amber and gold, Olivia proposed a formal partnership between Langford Holdings and Carter's Garage, not as a favor, not as repayment, but as a recognition of genuine value and expertise. Ryan considered the idea carefully before agreeing to continue the conversation, and the look of relief on Olivia's face revealed how much the answer mattered. Standing there among the tools, engines, and fading afternoon light, both understood that something important had changed, not merely a business relationship, but the foundation of mutual respect, trust, and understanding that neither had expected to find. And in the quiet stillness that followed, the distance between their two very different worlds finally began to disappear. The next morning dawned clear and calm over Carter's garage, the sunlight spilling across the asphalt and illuminating the rows of vehicles and neatly organized tools, creating a sense of peace and accomplishment that contrasted with the chaos Olivia Bennet had faced just days earlier. Ryan Carter moved through the garage with practiced precision, checking each vehicle and double-checking schedules, ensuring that every detail was in place, while Lily followed, notebook in hand, observing his quiet efficiency and the subtle lessons he imparted about diligence, foresight, and patience, her eyes reflecting admiration and pride. Olivia arrived shortly after, walking through the open garage doors with a mix of awe and humility, noting the transformation that had occurred, not just in the vehicles or operations, but in her understanding of the man she had underestimated, realizing that success was not always visible, and that true value often worked silently behind the scenes. She approached Ryan and extended her hand, speaking sincerely as she acknowledged her previous misjudgments and expressed gratitude for his tireless work that had kept her company afloat. And Ryan accepted her words with calm composure, offering a quiet nod rather than any display of triumph, demonstrating once again that true dignity does not demand recognition. The garage was filled with a warm golden light, reflecting off polished metal and casting gentle shadows that highlighted the ordinary beauty of hard work. And the air carried the faint scent of motor oil and sunlight, grounding the scene in reality while underscoring the emotional weight of the moment. Ryan guided Olivia and Lily to a nearby workbench, showing her the systems and methods he had used to coordinate vehicle maintenance and fleet support, each explanation precise and clear, illustrating his expertise while also conveying lessons in responsibility, planning, and integrity that extended far beyond mechanical knowledge. Olivia listened intently, absorbing the depth of his efforts and understanding how each decision, adjustment, and proactive measure had created a ripple effect that not only stabilized her company but also fostered a sense of trust, respect, and collaboration that she had never anticipated. Lily chimed in occasionally with questions and observations, bridging the connection between her father and Olivia, and the three of them shared quiet laughter and thoughtful discussion. The moment capturing a sense of unity and mutual respect that had taken months to cultivate. As the sun climbed higher, reflecting on the garage walls and vehicles, Olivia felt a profound sense of closure and renewed perspective, recognizing that leadership, kindness, and competence could exist in many forms, often in places overlooked by those who measure success only by status or appearances. The garage, once merely a backdrop to daily labor, had become a symbol of opportunity, redemption, and the quiet power of perseverance, a testament to Ryan's unwavering commitment and to the lessons that Olivia would carry forward in both her professional and personal life. Together, standing amidst the tools, vehicles, and soft golden light, Ryan, Olivia, and Lily embodied a new beginning, one founded on trust, respect, and understanding. With the promise that the partnership, built on recognition of true value rather than assumption, would continue to grow and flourish, leaving a lasting impression of dignity, gratitude, and the transformative power of quiet, steadfast action.